Three, two, one, clap.
Okay.
All right.
Do we clap on clap?
No, 3, 2, 1, and then the clap sound.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So,
yes,
yeah.
the clap sound.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, clap.
All right.
I'm not going to say clap, though. It's just going to be 3,
Okay, we
2,
got it.
1,
We got it.
and then the clap sound happens, okay?
I really hope this is in the final cut of the podcast.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Hello, and welcome back to the Grope-a-Trope podcast. My name is Josh. Sitting across the table from me is Tommy.
Or Servo.
We have Cameron in here.
Heyo.
Kane.
I am here.
And Cody.
Yep.
And
Yep.
this is episode 1. So, Kane, what you been doing, man?
Starting with me, I see. What have you been doing? No, I'm just kidding. So, let's see. What have I been playing this week? It's been a pretty slow week for me as far as what I've been playing. World of Warcraft. Because, it's pretty much just World of Warcraft. That game's still really good.
Battle.net. We know what you've been doing, Kane.
Exactly. I've been spending a lot of time with that. I just hit 110. The game's really good. I think the longevity is looking good. They have a lot of content out. So I'm really enjoying it. We'll see how that goes. I'm kind of a fair weather fan with WoW sometimes. I go really hard and then I fall off, but we'll see how it goes. As far as that, but what else I've been playing is I decided I wanted to revisit Rock Band. Rock Band 4 came out, last year in November, I think, right?
Sometime around then.
Was it
Okay.
November? Yeah.
It might have been earlier than that. Anyway, it's been about a year, and it had a pretty rough launch. The hardware was pretty bad. The songs on the disc were pretty bad. A lot of people were having calibration issues. It just has kind of been. It's just been rough. Harmonix really scaled down. They had a smaller dev studio this time, and I think it hurt them. They weren't being funded by MTV.
Yeah.
So they've stuck to it, and they've kind of been calling it a platform. So they're going to say, hey, we know that this launched kind of rough, but we're going to continue to support it. We're going to continue to add songs. As you guys probably know, in fact, I think all of the songs from all the previes games are playable now.
Oh,
Rock
they
Band
got them all
1,
patched in now, huh?
I think so. If not, it's very close. Rock Band 1, 2, and 3 too. Yeah, I think they're all on there.
Nice.
The licenses are kind of hard to get a hold of because I think you have to have that original disc. So you have to find a new copy of the game or have your old one. Or use one that wasn't used. The code wasn't used.
So just wanting to jam on Rock Band, or is there new stuff coming out that made you want to try it again?
Yeah, I mean, that's actually what I was doing before I got here, was I was having a Rock Band party. So it was like, oh, hey, this game still exists, and it's still really fun. So I came, brought the Rock Band, set it all up, everybody having a great time. Rock Band is still really fun. It may be old and kind of like the musical instruments are still kind of an old thing of the past. Everybody sticks their nose up at them, but it's a really fun game. I know it's not for everyone, but it's obviously kind of it's a commitment to have all those plastic things sitting around and not break and all that.
Taking up space.
Yeah. We just live in a hard world for Rock Band nowadays, and I think it's kind of people being burnt out on the concept of constantly getting new plastic instruments and stuff of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they need to sell it more like you're buying into a console rather than buying into a game.
Yep.
Which I mean, I feel like that's kind of come and gone, though. Rock Band 4 didn't do so well last year, but they are continuing forward with Rock Band, aren't they? Isn't there, I want to say, Rock Band Rivals coming out?
Yeah, I think so. That's the thing that's coming out. They've also released a lot of big updates to the UI and just some storefront stuff. And they also added this new mode called Brutal Mode, which is I guess it's the expert notes. So if you play an expert, it's the same amount of notes. But this new mode called Brutal, and I think this was released a couple months ago, so it's not super new news, but it was pretty new to me. But the notes on the top of the highway, as they come down, are basically hidden. So you can't see any of the notes until moments before the actual actuation point.
Oh, man.
And as you do worse, that loosens up and you can see more of the highway. But it's great for drums, because I play drums on expert on that game. And if you know it really well, the drum part really well, you can pretty much play it almost blind. You just see the note maybe a quarter of a second before you have to hit it. So it just kind of becomes a natural free-flowing thing. It's super crazy for people to look at. They look at it and they're like, "What? How are you even doing this?"
Yeah.
Nice.
But
That's smart. That's kind of DDR Step Mania stuff right there.
It is.
Cool effects and
yeah, it's
all that.
it's really great. At first, I was like, this is going to be impossible. In fact, I think for guitar, I think it would be even harder because that's kind of less of a real instrument type thing. Drums kind of has a flow, and you're still hitting things with sticks, so it's kind of more normal. But
Mm-hmm.
And then it's Rock Band that's doing Rock Band VR as well, right? Or is that Guitar Hero?
no, that's Rock Band. Yeah, they're doing Rock Band VR.
Yeah.
They seem like they weather the storm more. I mean, Rock Band Rivals is supposed to be like a Spinal Tap rockumentary type of experience, which that could be fun. I think it's only supposed to be like $30 or so. And then Rock Band VR, so clearly they're moving forward in a sense.
Mm-hmm. And Cameron, what you were saying on Rock Band Rivals, I don't know a whole lot about it, but I know that Mad Catz used to be their hardware manufacturer for all their instruments, and they were pretty unhappy with the way that the Rock Band 4 stuff turned out. So I think they went to someone else, which is PDP. I don't know really much about them.
Oh, Pelican.
Oh, is that Pelican?
Is that what
Okay.
Pelican turned into?
Yeah, that's what Pelican turned into.
Oh.
Oh, okay. So PDP is making some new instruments. They redesigned the guitar again. The guitar that came with Rock Band 4 was kind of, they promised a lot that was good, but it really turned out to be pretty bad.
Are they still
starter was
using
bad.
the 5-button note setup, though?
They are. Yeah, they have the 5 up top, and then they have the 5 solo notes down below. This new guitar is supposed to be, the auto calibration is supposed to be better. All that stuff that they tout every time.
Yeah.
And it's also foldable.
Okay, that's new.
Seriously.
Yeah.
As long as that doesn't mess with it. I remember even, Guitar Hero, whatever, 3
There's
around
Guitar
that
Hero
era.
3 where they could take the neck off of it. Yeah.
Yes, and that led to so many problems.
Yep. And
Yeah.
I think it might come with a charger, so I'm guessing that the guitar is lithium-ion battery, so you don't need AA's anymore.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great.
Mhm.
That's a great.
Yeah, they're
Nice.
releasing some adapters for the old Ion drum rocker, that old $600 real electronic drum set that used to be able to hook to Rock Band. So you'll be able to play that with Rock Band 4.
Not
Just
only
some real,
that, but it can accept new MIDI or different drum kits as well too. So you could have a legit drum kit with that now.
yeah, you could hook it to a drum brain and it would be a real electronic kit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they're doing the same thing with the drums, just kind of quality of life stuff, and they're releasing a new PDP manufactured drum kit. So, yeah, obviously Rock Band 4 didn't hit mainstream like I think that they wanted it to, but for the people that really care about it, kind of like me, they've done a really good job of keeping me around. The songs, I mean, I have I don't even know how many, 400 songs on my PS4. It's just, it's almost too much. You get a party together and get people okay, pick a song, and you just scroll for 5 minutes.
Yeah, right.
They have some modes to fix that too, but anyway, that's kind of my thoughts on Rock Band. I'm pretty happy with where it is, and I'm glad that they're continuing to support it.
I'm actually kind of surprised that they're still going with it. Especially after Rock Band 4's launch, it seemed pretty weak, and I thought it was going to disappear.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I'm happy to hear that they're still in the fight. And then PDP also too, they're not too bad. Sony licenses out all of their third-party accessories and stuff like that to them. So all the the Blu-ray remotes and extra controllers and stuff like that, they all go through them. So
Cool.
Speaking of rhythm games, something I heard that would be so fun to do was I think a lot of us here played Crypt the Necrodancer, one of my favorite rhythm games of the past year or so. People are starting to get really into Crypt the Necrodancer with dance pads. That just seems like it'd be a really fun experience.
When I first played it at PAX, actually, before it came out, we had big metal DDR pads ready, and that was so much fun. It's fun to play just natively, but on the dance pad, it is an entirely different experience with people clapping and just cheering you on, and oh, go left, oh, cast the fire spell, oh shit! It's
such a good game.
right on.
Co-op isn't possible though if you play with one of our friends who I play video games a lot with, who's really bad at keeping rhythm.
They'll know who they are.
Yeah.
I've been
Necrodancer with, so
I've been mainly playing World of Warcraft as well. When I have been doing, it's been kind of slow for gaming, despite that we're about to go into the intense gaming slog of the fall. I've been a little bit of WoW here and there. I'm level 102 though, so to people who are playing WoW right now who are have been 110 for a day or so. I'm way behind. Beyond World of Warcraft, Beyond World of Warcraft, I've been dabbling in a little bit of this year's latest Madden. I'm sure just as boring of a topic to a lot of people as World of Warcraft.
No, I was going to bring it up because you're the only person here who plays sports games.
And sports games is generous.
Did Madden come out?
Rocket League. Madden always comes out.
Dude,
Wow.
it heralds the game holiday season.
Yeah, you got Warcraft, you got Rock Band. Madden's been a constant for decades longer. Man, there's always a Madden. Always will be a Madden.
The Genesis and Super Nintendo ones were pretty good.
Yeah, but no, it's fine. It's if you're into the football games and what have you, it does a good job. Madden, surprisingly enough, despite having the monopoly for a time, has been better the past couple years, at least compared to its bad streak from like 2005 to 2010.
Yeah.
Beyond that, a lot of D&D and Magic the Gathering stuff, really.
Nice. So in Madden, though, just to kind of go back on that, is there any like one thing that they did like differently? Because I get a lot of people asking all the time, and I tell them, well, I hear it's better.
They put in the booster pack, the booster draft type of thing that you could do, similar to Magic the Gathering and everything.
That's honestly old news at this point. That's
yeah.
Like 2 or 3. Yeah, that's multiple years old. It's more an emphasis on defense. They're always kind of improving that lately. That's been kind of their thing. They have changed kind of your kind of just the movement of the character, the direction. There's kind of, you can really choose kind of as you're moving the character, even though if you're moving to the left, you can kind of with your right stick you have like this cone that isn't exactly a vision cone, but it's kind of a body language cone, I guess. It's kind of nice for slipping through defenders. Beyond that, though, the thing that they really improved, which is I think one of the things that most people who play Madden enjoy about Madden, is the franchise mode is pretty vastly improved.
Oh, yeah.
The menu,
I was going to ask.
The UI, how it controls, just everything about it actually is pretty fun. And then something that's almost funny to someone who's not into Madden, it looks weird from a distance, is they pretty much have made it now so you can go through the franchise mode and you're more or less simulating football, and you're only playing kind of the key plays, like, hey, it's 3rd and 1 and you need to stop the other team from getting a touchdown here. You can jump in, but then after you do that play, succeed or fail, you can just continue right on. You get past the boring field goals, you get past, and you're just watching these colored meters to represent you and the opponent moving up and down a football field. And then, it's like 1st and 10, you're down by 7 because we've been doing dice rolls to determine how the game's been going. Then you take over and you get to actually play the offensive drive. It's nice because the thing about Madden franchise mode is how long they are, especially even if you do like 5-minute quarters. You're looking at like 40 to an hour each game, and then when you're playing 16 games a season, you're not going to get too many years down the line, where it's kind of fun to see what your favorite team could look like under your control as a general manager in the year 2025. This kind of speeds up that process. So they've done stuff, but it's minute, like every franchise game.
So the part where you're only playing through select moments, it's almost like you're playing the highlights of that game and then skipping over everything else.
Yep, if you've ever seen like how they'll try to show what happened in a football game quickly on like an ESPN or even on like a website, it's just the football field, these kind of like colored bars. They'll show you like penalty yards or offensive drives, and that's mainly what you're looking at. It's visually nice. They give you a lot of information, but then you jump in for pretty much what could be the highlights. They're not the highlights yet because you do still at that point have control.
Yeah.
You can fail, and that'll kind of set the tone of the game. Like a couple times when I first did it, I took over and I just failed miserably, and that game ended up like 45 them, 14 me. It seemed like the game could tell that I wasn't doing well, and they kind of just went hard on that. So,
is that part of franchise mode, or is that a separate mode?
I bet you could do it in all modes. It seems like it's mainly developed and it suits franchise mode, though. It's really for when you want to play, maybe there's a certain player that you want to make sure they have great stats at the end of the year, or you get to call those key moments, but it's definitely almost like a Madden simulation.
Nice. Not bad. So what have you been playing, Cody?
Similar to last week, I have been playing a lot of Starbound, a painful amount of Starbound. I now have 141 hours logged total.
Congratulations.
Since you've owned the game, or like
since I've owned the game,
week? Oh.
But before I started playing, I had, I think, just a solid 100 hours.
Oh, not bad.
So yeah, in
So
the last
40 since the actual release.
1.0.
Yep. And so that I've been playing that, and I have been really wanting to play Grow Up, but I'm in the middle of moving, so it's kind of difficult, and I keep forgetting to bring my controller to my new place. So it's still hanging out in the apartment. And
Cody, did you play Grow Home?
Oh yeah, I platinumed it. Well, 100% it, because there's no platinum trophy if you platinum it.
I really liked Grow Home. How did they change Grow Up from Grow Home? Like, I guess a similar question I got with Madden. What did they add?
Yeah, and it's all speculation for me. I'm going in blind.
Oh, okay.
I haven't played yet. No,
I haven't either. I want to. I really like Grow Up.
Oh yeah, I'm very excited to sit down and really crack into it. I'm expecting to try to 100% it in one day, because I go really hard into that game, which is a kind of an interesting game to go hard into, considering it's so laid back.
Yeah, it's the gameplay physics, the grabbing with the left and the right hand. It was fun. Like, its core game was fun. Nothing else about it needed to be good except for that.
It's also like it feels like awkward because you're this bumbling little like baby robot, but for being so awkward and being physics based when it comes to the movement and stuff, it has actually surprisingly incredibly tight controls. Like, your inputs are exactly translated very well into the game, surprisingly, for being this weird floppy red thing. And yeah, so I've been wanting to play that, haven't had time. I've been playing a lot of Starbound, and then on top of that, I've just been playing a lot of D&D. We actually just got done playing today. I wish you could have been there, Isley, actually, or Cameron. Sorry, last name. Oh fuck.
I don't care.
Yeah, we ended up doing some cool stuff. We actually thought of some new rules. I don't know if I want to bore you guys with the details of the rules that we thought up, but it was good. It made we added like the idea of like sweet spot mechanics. So instead of like, oh, you have a super high strength stat and you need to crank this like lever, and it's if you have to hit the sweet spot, because if you're super strong and you're not applying any finesse and you just like crank on the lever, you're gonna be too strong and you could potentially just snap it off. So we kind of added that, and it was kind of interesting. It really made it a lot more dynamic and fun. That's what I've been playing.
So in your guys' campaign, are you guys running one of the 5.0 campaigns right now, or?
Right now, the campaign that I'm playing in, we are currently doing just a homemade campaign. We're trying to, it's almost like it's kind of like Suicide Squad, kind of, but not really, really bad.
Kind of Suicide
Not
Squad.
incredibly bad. It's the same kind of premise where we're a bunch of less than reputable people, but we're doing something that's supposedly for the greater good. I feel like we're going to get fucked over at the end.
Right, I try to hint at that with my little story.
Yeah, your little message. I was like, oh, well, makes sense.
It's not a 5.0 campaign, but for people familiar with D&D 5.0 or that general area, it does take place around like Waterdeep, which is a center point of a lot of the 5.0 campaigns.
It does take place in the current era and year.
Yeah. So it's not exactly out of the book, but it could easily be like a side story in between a book.
Yeah, and then my campaign that I'm running, that we are doing one of the 5.0 campaigns, and we are still working on Tyranny of Dragons, which is the first one that came out, because I have added so much stuff to make it good. Tyranny of Dragons is not a great campaign for 5e. Like, if you're the kind of person where you kind of want to get into D&D and you just think, oh, well, I'll just play the campaigns in order. Just don't. Just skip Tyranny of Dragons. There is literally a road trip quest where every day it's just, what do you do on the road? What are you doing on the caravan? Oh, I'm going to whittle on a stick. Okay, yeah. Okay, so like an hour passes and you come to the road and there's a bunch of mushrooms in the road. Okay, cool. I sweep them out. We keep going. The horses are afraid of them. Okay, cool. I kick them out of the way. They explode and they make shrieking sounds like children getting murdered. And you're like, what the fuck? And it's just like, the only solution to that is just
retreat to Dennis, naturally.
Yes. Just when in doubt, go to Dennis. Anyway, it's just the actual solution, because that's an actual encounter during that road trip thing. And the only solution is like, spend hours laboring and then resting because you can't handle the screams, and then laboring and resting. And it's just, how is that fun?
Whittle one of the mushrooms.
Huh?
Yeah, just whittle one of the mushrooms because you're all out of your stick.
Exactly. But so I've been working on that, making that fun, and throwing in my own little seeds for my homebrew campaign afterward, teasing things, driving my players insane.
Perfect.
So that's how that's been going.
So you're the DM then.
Yeah. Okay. So we have 2 campaigns we're playing. I'm on Sundays. I'm the DM, and then on Mondays, one of my players on Sunday, Cayman, he is the DM, and I play.
Cool. So what might be a good introduction to somebody for somebody to 5th edition?
I would definitely say a great introduction to 5th edition. If you're looking for, it really depends on the type of player. So if you want to get introduced into D&D and like open sandbox appeals to you, then by all means go for Elemental Evil or maybe the Storm King's Thunder. But if you want something that's more story driven and kind of going in chapters and parts and driven forward but is still good, then I would go with Curse of Strahd. Oh, I guess also Out of the Abyss is also kind of sandbox, isn't it, Cameron?
Yeah, I think Out of the Abyss is fantastic.
Yeah,
I definitely recommend that one as kind of a more advanced one, but all of them are, I mean, not advanced by any means, but almost all of them in general might not be the best starting point to a degree. I think I would probably point people towards just Lost Mines of Phandelver. Which is just made entirely for, just to get even, because that's even especially good for maybe a new DM, let alone a new group. It's just kind of
That's very true.
almost a D&D trope here. So yeah, it's good, but
yeah, that's for people
Out of the
that aren't-
Abyss and Curse of Strahd are really, I always want to say Ravenloft, Strahd are really good.
Yeah, so for those that aren't super familiar, the D&D 5th edition, the Mines of Phandelver, is part of the D&D, the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition starter set. You can find it on Amazon. MSRP is average, usually $20, but I'm seeing it right now. It looks like it's marked down to about $13. And yeah, it's like almost like just the boxed game of Dungeons & Dragons. It has quick start rules. I'm pretty sure it has pre-made characters. It has maps, and it has a story and a plot you can follow. So if you're interested in D&D, but you're kind of afraid to jump in just, head first, you can kind of dip your toes a little bit and buy this, $20 thing instead of dropping, $60 on a player's handbook. Or no, it's not 60, but dropping money on books and, realizing you might not like it.
And I think a lot of people are looking into D&D right now, strangely enough, thanks to Stranger Things. I was reading an article that a ton of people are getting into it thanks to that show.
Where will you be when the Demogorgon hits?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I've been playing. And then kind of planning projects and stuff. I had a coworker who was telling me that I should really start working on that DM's workshop project, where I was going to have those tutorial videos, because he has a friend who actually is looking for exactly that. So that's nice. But,
I was looking for something similar as I was getting into DMing and D&D earlier in the year, and there actually isn't much, surprisingly, on YouTube, especially good quality content.
Yeah, it's really good to know that there is a demand for it, and that putting it out there is not going to just be a drop in the bucket of this massive ethos of, carbon copied videos. So that's nice. Anyway, that's what's been going on recently for me. Been kind of busy away from video games because of moving, but I always make time for D&D. So yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like 3 of the 5 of us here are currently moving as well too. So that's kind of that's a whole lot of fun.
So I guess segmenting from there, then, hey Tommy, what have you been doing, bud?
As one of the 3 who has been moving, I've been doing that.
Wow.
But beyond moving and shuffling around furniture and everything, last episode, on episode 0, I mentioned how Kane and Cameron kind of just unduly convinced me to check out WoW after being gone for about 5 or 6 years.
The Brigands.
And so I pre-ordered Legion, which I still to this day mistakenly call Burning Crusade every now and then. But I did what everybody does who pre-orders an expansion to a game. I did all the pre-launch events, and then when the game actually comes out for me to play it, I play something else. So I've actually been playing Crysis. I've been gaming on a laptop for the past few years, and it's powerful enough that I can play a lot of stuff like Fallout and Skyrim and everything like that. And I could have played Crysis, but I kind of wanted to wait until I had a powerful enough desktop that I could have the full Michael Bay experience and everything like that. And one thing that I immediately noticed, since you are given the Crysis suit, I loved playing the original Far Cry and just exploring the island and everything like that. But when not having a vehicle to travel great distances, it really got old pretty fast. So just having the speed boost to be able to get me from one place to another, it's such a nice feature. It really improves the experience that I'm having. And just the little things that they did as well, like having the speed on makes me switch weapons faster. So that was a nice touch. I was hoping that it would also make you reload faster, but it doesn't. Being able to use the maximum strength function of the suit to set up traps and like punch down buildings and everything like that. And given all of the suit functions that you have a strength boost, speed boost, defense boost, and cloaking. I've basically been playing it as the Predator, which is far better than the actual Predator Concrete Jungle game, which came out on PS2 and Xbox.
Absolutely, that is the right way to play that game, is to be like sneaky and just Predator totally.
Taken some trucks, but I decided no, it's funner to run through the forest.
Okay, so tell me a game where the Predator playstyle isn't the slightly better way
correct
to
answer?
go. I've been thinking that.
Dishonored.
I've been playing.
Boom! I'll beat you to it. Ha!
Nice. Why is that though? It's just more fun to go hard instead of being sneaky.
I mean, you get the worst ending, kind of spoiler.
I mean, you get the worst ending, but then also too, the game gives you so many fucking awesome abilities that like you can't use those unless you break stealth. And so, like, if you're being stealth all the way through and you're not killing anybody, you're basically just getting all of these different skills to just like throw in the trash and never touch. So
it's kind of refreshing because I was playing Deus Ex Mankind Divided a little bit, and I decided like right from the start that I was gonna not play it stealthy because I feel like that's how you almost approach any game that gives you that option, because it's giving you that option. Like sometimes it's okay to just go Zerg.
Yep. Yeah. I actually, a little while back, like a couple months, I was going back through Human Revolution, and I was going through and specifically not being stealthy. And that game is still really fun if you go in guns blazing.
Mm-hmm. That's good. I think that's important.
Yeah, and then still meaning to check out We Happy Few some more, which I'll probably do that in the 24-hour event that we have coming up that we're doing as a fundraiser. And then I have picked up Radial G, Racing Revolved, which is basically virtual reality F-Zero. Mm-hmm. And I've only checked that out for a little bit, but there is that game, and then there's another one else on Steam. I cannot remember the name of it, but it's making it really hard not for me to pick up a VR headset, not for me to pick up a Vive, just because seeing the gameplay and picturing what it would be like in VR, it's very appealing.
Oh, yeah. So you're playing the...
It's basically like an F-Zero game.
Well, yeah, Radial G.
Radial G? Yeah,
well, I know Radial G, but the other game is...
The other game is similar to Radial G.
Okay.
I just can't remember the name of it. I followed it last night when I saw it, and I forgot the name of it. And there's another one on Steam. There's like 3 of them. There's Radial G, Formula Fusion, I want to say, and then this third game, which I can't remember the name of it. But the third game is very similar to the old Wipeout games. So AG racing, very fast, bright lights, photosensitive, caution apply type of game.
Yeah, seriously, just from like the trailer for the Radial G, like it gives
in
people VR.
Headaches.
There's no way.
Yeah, and
I'm
it's one of those
die.
things where if you want to play the game in cockpit, you must be playing with VR headset. So that probably will not help a lot of people.
Yeah,
but so it's just been light fare as far as gaming goes for me. And so, Josh, what have you been playing?
I have been playing a lot of Tetris.
Dude,
in the real world,
Oh, what?
Just shoving shit in boxes and taking boxes and shoving that into vehicles and taking that vehicle and just shoving it into buildings. No. I did, however, last night finally get a moment to sit down and actually check out Deus Ex Mankind Divided. I played it for about 35 minutes. And, yeah, so I got on the PS4. I really want to get on PC, but just for the time being, I was just playing on PS4. But yeah, so far it's it reminds me exactly like the Human Revolution, and it's got the stealth gameplay Cameron's talking about. It's got guns blazing. I tried a little bit of both just to check it out and see kind of how everything plays out. I haven't actually had a chance to really explore any of the city yet. Like before I was actually able to start that portion, it was like 3 a.m. and I had to go to bed. So, but I mean, it plays okay on the PS4. It feels a little like obviously controller. To me, Deus Ex is very much a PC mouse and keyboard game.
It kind of seems like the kind of game that would have a lot of menus. The controllers wouldn't really jive with.
Yeah,
hacking on a controller is a nightmare. It's a fucking nightmare.
It's really not that bad at least on Mankind Divided, because I mean you have free range. Like you essentially are flying the cursor around to the different nodes, and then when you get close to one of them, then it automatically like magnetically syncs to that node, and so it's really not too bad in that regards. But it's it's okay. I already pissed off some people in the first mission, so that's pretty cool. That kind of stuff. But yeah, other than that, I downloaded and played a little bit of Mobius Final Fantasy, which what is the Marvel game you were playing on your phone for a while?
Oh, Marvel Future Fight or something like that.
It's basically that game.
Where you just proc up heroes and they go do stuff.
Yeah, it's the one I was playing was basically Marvel Pokemon.
Yeah, well, it's not so much Pokemon. It's like you go to an area and then you just press the auto button and then you watch all the pretty colors on the screen for a little bit. A lot of stuff flashes. You have really satisfying like break moments where like you break through the enemy's defenses and it throws up a big cool like splash thing on the screen, and then the numbers are large and it's cool. So
It's an idle game.
It surely is.
It's a clicker game without the clicking.
Yes. Yeah, you only have to click once and it's good to go. So that's kind of cool.
They're constantly referred to as clicker games, but they're truly all idle games. Like,
Right.
You don't always have to click, but it's more about just kind of managing them. In a lot of ways, Game Dev Story is one, if you really think about it.
Yeah, there's a little more input. But
A very little.
Very little more. You have to like.
I love Game Dev Story.
maybe
Probably
name
favorite
it.
cell phone game of all time. I've gone through that game 20 times, but yeah, it's kind of a idle game.
But yeah. So I mean, it's been pretty minimal for me. It's actually been kind of hell because I gotta play games and yeah, I just in between places just haven't really had the time to do really much gaming at all. So, but
Or internet.
well, yeah, that too. But once like I have majority of everything that I would kind of need over at the place now. So now it's just a matter of unpacking, and then I'll kind of dive back more into Mankind Divided, and I don't know, maybe get like a wild hair and like start playing some retro games or something like that have been in boxes for for months. But yeah, so yeah, overall my games played is pretty boring.
Not to bring the conversation back too much, but did anybody play Final Fantasy Record Keeper? Speaking of Final Fantasy mobile games.
I did not.
But I did not.
I saw it and was intrigued by it, but I never actually checked it out.
That's actually a pretty cool game that I kind of lost myself into. It's basically just like a turn-based mobile type. It kind of is nostalgic for Final Fantasy purposes, but anyway, not to derail too much, but that got me thinking about Record Keeper, and I used to play that a lot, and I wonder if they're updating it still.
I got hung up on Tetramaster. I mean, sorry, Triple Triad. I just call it that because it's like the like the Drowned Child, where I'm just like, I want you to be Tetramaster so bad, but you're just Triple Triad. But you'll do.
Well, then I suppose at that point, I think we'll probably just go ahead and start talking about some new things going on in the gaming world.
What is going on?
So much stuff.
Yeah.
Is there stuff going on?
I mean, kind of.
I mean, PAX is going on right now.
Oh,
Don't
I think it just ended.
But
yeah, actually, I think as of tonight, PAX is Dunzo's.
Yeah, and I don't know about anybody else, but I haven't heard a whole lot coming out of it.
I was just about to ask that. Now, do they usually do a lot of video game, like true video game announcements with PAX?
Not
They
really.
don't do
trying to
announcements,
figure
but
out.
they do demos and betas.
Yeah, sometimes
Right.
sometimes some first demos will be there, like, Bloodborne was first playable there, so you get some, like, impressions of games that you've heard about. But as far as, like, announcements, I don't really think that there's much that comes out of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, overall, it kind of seems like all the other events that go on previously, like, those are all the big press events, and, like, everyone kind of gets all their juicy news tidbits from that, and then PAX is where it finally becomes playable on the consumer end for the first time. Without having to be like on the inside of the industry. So
Let's talk Mario.
Cameron, give us a lowdown.
Oh yeah, we're just.
You're our resident
bringing
Mario Maker expert.
Yeah. All right, I'll gladly wear that crown. So Nintendo Direct, we all know them. I don't know if I'd say we all love them, but they're usually interesting. And this one, I would say, was especially interesting purely thanks to Mario Maker. And Mario Maker's coming to the 3DS. Which to me is just huge news. It's December 2nd, $39.99. There are going to be some things with this one, though, that are certainly a little interesting. That the number one being that you won't be able to type in a level ID and find it manually. I believe they're doing pretty impressive They're doing pretty impressive Street Pass stuff. Kind of things that remind me of the kind of the golden age of Street Passing, the Street Fighter stuff and all that. So you essentially can like pass levels between each other and collaborate on levels together as you make them, but they're definitely kind of going for more of a local thing, kind of local communities, not online communities, which is unfortunate. I'm not sure if there's some sort of technical reason there. You never know with Nintendo, like as strange as it is.
Monster Hunter 4 is like fully online.
That's fine, but we don't know Monster Hunter 4's like server and programming compared to what it takes for millions of Mario Maker levels. Like,
that's very true.
I mean, I would have thought it was preposterous that they needed a better processor in the 3DS in order to play Super Nintendo games. So apparently that is something that also they had to do. Nintendo's weird, but in general, I think this is a great thing, especially for the fact I'll be happy. There's almost a thing that can make or break this game for me. I'll be happy if there's a way that I can take a level that I have made on my Wii U and put it on my 3DS and then share it with people I know locally. That'll be enough for me to be happy. I'm worried that might not be the case. Well, I guess we're going to have to stay tuned. But it is still a cool thing that not only is Nintendo doing this so late in the game for the 3DS and with the NX, probably if they stick to their schedule 3 or 4 months after this, but they're also announced they're going to be continuing 3DS support until 2018, which is really impressive to me in lieu of the NX stuff. We all think that the NX is not only a replacement to the Wii U, but a replacement to the 3DS. So it's very interesting to me that they are going to go full steam ahead, at least. Because 3DS had a decent library even this year, especially compared to the Wii U. So good news out of Nintendo, in my opinion. A little concerned about the level sharing, though.
So how will you even... So I guess you'll just have to do the 100 Mario Challenge to even get levels fed to you? Is that the only way to play them?
I haven't looked fully into it, but I think that is the general idea. Is probably a 100 Mario Challenge streamer, you could say. I remember when Mario Maker first came out, or almost a year ago to the day, that I kind of said that I wished on a handheld that they had a way. Maybe you didn't have to make levels, but you could stream them. Because making levels is great, but I think the real creators are going to be doing that on their Wii U. I just love the idea of all the 3DS owners being able to play my levels. So they got to find a way to do that. Hopefully, it's something they could add later, if it is something like Cody was thinking, which it very well could be, where it is something that isn't a hardware restriction, but a software restriction. Who knows? But that is concerning, because 100 Mario Challenge is not the reason why I love Mario. You could almost say the things that 100 Mario Challenge lacks are some of the reasons why Mario Maker isn't a perfect game in my eyes. So it is interesting.
I'm curious because Nintendo has that website where you can like log in and search levels on there and then queue them up on your Wii U. I wonder if that'll interface with the 3DS, so maybe you won't be able to type in a code directly on the 3DS, but maybe you'll be able to feed yourself levels via their online website.
That's an incredible thought, actually. I bet you're exactly right on that. I've used that bookmark thing, and it's super good, honestly. It's the only... if they could put that bookmark website in the Mario Maker main menu, every problem that Mario Maker had would be instantly fixed. That thing actually works really well. So I bet you're exactly right. You'll probably just have to jump online, bookmark things that you care about, and then they'll be there on a tab on the game.
That's still not like a super great solution, but it at least makes it so it's possible, you know?
Yeah, no, that's all I'll need, honestly, because it got to a point where the bookmarking thing was so good and the Reddit community was so intense that people would have their bookmarks ready to go. They'd treat it almost like, you know, they're selling you a YouTube page or a game. You get a description, a snapshot of the level, all that good stuff, and then you would just click on it, click the little heart that adds it to your bookmarks, and towards the last half of Mario Maker, I never typed in codes because I'd only use that bookmark site. I completely forgot about that. So that is probably how they're going to do it.
So is that bookmark site something that Nintendo themselves put out, or was that...
Yep. Yeah, it's first party.
Yeah, because it pushes to the Wii
they
U.
just didn't put it in the game.
Yeah, they're weird. I always want to say...
an afterthought.
Yeah, that very well could be
what if
it.
that has to do with region? Like, different countries have different, you know, restrictions on their internet and their ability to do things online with certain platforms, perhaps. So maybe that has something to do with, I don't know. Just don't give me a look, Kane. You know?
No, it's true. I mean,
I can see your face.
It's easy for us to kind of sit here with a lot of these big companies and just say, I can't believe they didn't do that. And sometimes they are dumb, especially Nintendo. They could almost be the best example of not doing something like embracing the internet the past 10 years the way that the other companies have. That is just flabbergasting. But I think a lot of times there can be technical reasons. There are things that they know that we don't. And I think it's always okay to give them the benefit of the doubt in some situations.
Yeah, the whole bookmark thing is such a, like, the epitome of a Nintendo move to me.
Yeah.
You know, like, hey, you know, we have this great system for levels and you can make these amazing levels, but if you want to share them like really dynamically, you got to just go to this website and make an account and then like, you know, just like bookmark stuff.
It's almost like with these companies that you love, you almost wish there was like some law that every 5 years all the old developers were just pushed out and these new young bucks were coming in, because they just feel like old men sometimes. Like they just don't get what 2016 is. They still think it's 2006.
Miyamoto definitely has that reputation right now on like Reddit and the gaming community. Like people respect Miyamoto a lot, I think, but he kind of has like this persona that may or may not be true, that he's kind of like, you know, a relic that's kind of dragging everything down.
It's both their strength and their weakness, I think. I think it was their strength for a long, long time, but it's with a lot of stuff, it's starting to feel like their weakness. They can just be really behind the times.
Okay, so speaking of Miyamoto, here's something that I can't remember if it was Josh or Cameron mentioned, but 2D Pikmin? That's coming?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pikmin side-scroller.
2D? What?
Yeah, it's a side-scroller is how it's described as. Again, just like Mario Maker, I've only read the headlines on the Nintendo Direct. I didn't actually get to watch it, or I don't know if they showed us any trailers. But
there was gameplay.
It's a side-scrolling Pikmin. So if you saw gameplay, Kane, is it a Pikmin game in the sense of I have X amount of Pikmin to carry the object that needs X, or is it a side-scrolling
like
platform?
Lemmings.
So it kind of, to me, they didn't show a whole lot, but kind of the gist of what I got was that it was basically like a puzzle platformer, right? Like there's kind of like you just kind of go along and there's enemies, and then the puzzles are just like, hey, you need this many Pikmin for this, figure out how to get them around this corner and get them into this thing so that they drop down. And the combat, it seemed like there was combat, but it didn't really seem too like Pikmin-esque. There was just like
Who said Lemmings?
I did.
Yeah.
Tommy.
Yeah, it definitely kind of had a Lemmings vibe to what I said.
How about Mario versus Donkey Kong? Those
maybe
handheld games.
Maybe a little bit of that, yeah, sure.
Robots dudes.
Or
But
maybe
you were definitely controlling all of
reaching
our-
far back into history here, Krusty's Funhouse.
Oh,
Good old Simpsons, Krusty's
Oh
Funhouse.
man,
Yeah, a little
Cool.
bit.
Maybe not.
I'm down for
They have some
anything Pikmin. Pikmin is one of the franchises that I feel like Nintendo hasn't milked enough compared to they have those, your F-Zeros or your Metroids, you could almost say. And then it's just nice to see.
Well,
You
you're
know
saying
what
those
happened
don't
last
get
time
milked,
we
right?
tried to move?
Yeah, they're milked poorly now, but like flashback 5 years ago, there was this huge gap between Metroid Prime and everything.
I
Like,
mean-
there for a while we weren't getting Metroid, and now we're not getting good Metroid. So
I would say that the reason why Pikmin, I feel like partially hasn't really been milked so much is that Pikmin is definitely one of those more delicate titles where I feel like it's really, really easy to just fuck up Pikmin. Like, it's entirely possible. Like even the most recent one, I loved it and it was wonderful, but playing as all those characters with that almost like Lost Vikings feel of like doing things was nice, but it was also kind of stressful. Like, and like less like I don't know. It wasn't too hard of a game, but there was times where it felt a little more stressful than it was fun.
Yeah, however, I want to say, like, the third Pikmin was definitely my favorite by far, just
Agree with
because of accessibility and just
Oh,
the
yeah.
different types of the Pikmin, and
Well,
I never really felt too rushed. Like, even though you had to swap between a bunch of people, like, you had to have juice to survive, and after playing that game for, like, 3 hours, I had juice for, like, an entire month. So,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, that was probably my favorite one, but I can definitely understand, they could do something to that game, and it could be pretty terrible.
Yeah, the thing about Pikmin is that there really isn't any other games, at least that come to my mind, that is like Pikmin. Pikmin is kind of its own weird genre. Like, it kind of takes things from other games, but you know what a Pikmin game is. And if it's not that, which this platformer type thing may not be, I think that might be why there isn't a whole lot of other Pikmin stuff. I feel like they are trying to fit that mold into that one particular mold, which is Pikmin 1, 2, and 3. So I'm kind of curious to see how this platformer works out. I mean, it may not be a quote-unquote Pikmin game, but it might be good.
Yeah, the only other game like it I can think of it is the Overlord games, which was more or less
Yeah,
Pikmin
you're right.
with British humor.
Right.
Mm.
And then, is the new Pikmin coming out on 3DS?
Yes.
Or
Yeah, it's
okay.
3DS.
Well, and this Nintendo Direct was 3DS centered, correct?
Okay.
Like, it was all about the 3DS content.
Did anybody here actually watch the 3DS Direct?
nope.
Nope.
I am a hermit and I live under a rock, so
It's mainly throwaway. Nintendo's trying to be like kind of funny and tongue-in-cheek humor, and it's kind of like so bad that you put your head in your hands, but you laugh anyway.
my dad makes jokes.
Yeah, when I hear that, I
totally
just
bad jokes.
picture Iwata holding a bundle of bananas.
Yeah, I mean it's that.
Yep.
It's just Reggie saying, "Where's my new Galaxy 3DS? I need it right now." Just like that's
Yeah,
Nintendo.
that's probably how Reggie would say it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Big year for Nintendo coming up.
Yeah,
Oh, wait,
Legend of
wonder.
Zelda. That's what I got.
Yeah, I mean, Zelda's going to be fantastic. Just hearing anything about the NX will be wonderful if we get to hear about that someday, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's been pretty poorly handled on their part. Like I know with this Nintendo Direct, then both the show notes and more or less how they started all off, they just right out the gate go, "We won't be talking about any NX," and it's just like they've been saying that for months.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's kind of un-Nintendo like. Like I'm not liking it. I'd like the system just to be out.
Dude, we heard about the NX when they originally announced that Nintendo was going to put mobile games out. That was like a year ago, more than a year ago,
Mhm.
and it's all been speculation. Like,
I think it's undeniable that there's a negative trend in video games about showing things off a little too early. We talked about that with Death Stranding last podcast.
Yep.
And then I think you can also see how awesome it is when you bring something out quickly. I think Fallout 4 wasn't the best Fallout game, but I think it was tremendously aided by the excitement and quickness of its release. I think that was a huge example for all other game studios to try to emulate, keep a lid on it, and then when you announce it, try to have it come out within like 4 months.
yep, I totally agree.
Because people were saying no way. Like a lot of outlets that I follow and listen to were saying Fallout is not coming out this year. That's preposterous, and they totally did it. So if they can do it, if a Bethesda can do it, then a lot of other game development studios should be able to do that exact same thing. And I think it's better for the industry, better for the game.
I have my fingers crossed that Rockstar is going to do that with Red Dead.
Oh, that'd be so great.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of rumbling about that.
Yep.
Be
That is-
fantastic.
Now, there's kind of some flagship games, and Red Dead's one of them. Those games that we're all just kind of waiting for.
Yep. It's like we know they're coming eventually, but when? So that's definitely one of them.
Man, speaking of eventually, yeah, Cameron, you're curious about what I thought about Gran Turismo Sport, and
oh yeah, that got delayed, right?
Yeah, they didn't actually say when it was delayed. Or at least not what I saw.
No, I don't think so. I think they maybe said spring next year. This one's just a funny one. We unfortunately we weren't really up and going with a podcast or other stuff, but we did this kind of off the cuff, fun little E3 betting game. E3 is practically Christmas to us every year, and one of the ones that I put on there was kind of a specific one about Gran Turismo Sport, and I remember even picking it myself because like, oh, Gran Turismo, that's gonna happen, which is kind of silly given their long history of delays. And sure enough, here we are. They didn't talk much about it. I didn't get points on that E3 bet. I remember being mad at Gran Turismo Sport for not giving me my E3 points, and here we are. They've been so quiet about it that this isn't surprising, I think, to anybody, really.
Now, GT Sport is the VR, the PlayStation VR game, right?
I think it's the next iteration of Gran Turismo. I think you could almost view it as a Gran Turismo 7.
Okay, but it is VR compatible, is that right?
Sure.
Yeah, we'll have some kind of VR integration.
Okay.
Whether that's GT Sport or if that's the final release of the game. But yeah, I think they're treating the GT Sport like they did Gran Turismo Prologue, where it's like 7 cars and a track. So
Because everyone loved that.
Oh man, Prologue was bad that was bad.
Yep. Also, Ground Zeroes was real bad.
Terrible.
Or at least it was fun to play, but the Outlash just was really, really bad.
People don't like that, no matter how good it is. People do not like when you do that kind of thing.
Yeah. So
now, how much is Gran Turismo Sport retailing for? Because go ahead.
Oh no, I mean, I was in the impression that it was a full Gran Turismo game. So if it's more like a Gran Turismo Prologue, then
yeah, like if it's something like Gran Turismo Prologue or Ground Zeroes, I get the feeling that maybe Sony is probably saying, "Hey, put out something so we can start recurring some of our investment because you're costing us too much money." I can see that being a possibility.
yeah. Maybe I misunderstood it, but that was the vibe I was getting from Gran Turismo Sport when I first heard about it, was that it was going to be a very bite-sized version of Gran Turismo.
Yeah,
because
that's the impression I got.
Yeah, they always do numbered releases, and anything that's not a numbered release is, demo status. So, I don't know. I'm going to have to look into that more. And I don't think they actually detailed, no? Well, I guess pre-orders were going, like limited editions were going for $69.99, so maybe I'm wrong.
Well, Prologue was like $40, wasn't it?
yeah, I was going to say, I'm not sure what Prologue even sold for. It was at least 40, like minimum 40.
Yeah.
Part of its thing that people hated so much could have been that it could have been 60, I'm not sure. But it was definitely 40 minimum. It was not good bang for your buck. Just Gran Turismo in general, I think they were Gran Turismo 4 and 5. I think were really strong, and I'm an outsider from the franchise. It seems like they stumbled a bit with Gran Turismo 6, and it's interesting to me because, like I said, not only am I an outsider with Gran Turismo franchises, I'm not really big into simulation racing games at all. And I don't know if simulation is the right title for this game, but I'm tickled pink about Forza Horizon 3. It actually might be the first non-burnout game, non-driving game that I buy the day it comes out, possibly ever. I'm excited for the multiplayer aspect of it and just the visuals of the game. And not to really compare those franchises, but I think it's interesting because Forza, kind of when I first started to almost become aware of racing simulation games, was kind of the Xbox answer to Gran Turismo, where now it feels like Forza kind of outshines Gran Turismo.
Oh, Forza has eaten Gran Turismo's lunch year in year again.
Which is hilarious because all the racing game guys are on PS4s right now because PS4 is the top system and they have been there for quite some time. So there's plenty of them on Xbox, of course, but it's really funny to me that now people are really into Forza and it's almost flip-flopped as far as the companies go.
Now, here's the question, though. How excited would you be for Forza Horizon 3 if you couldn't play it on PC and you needed to play it on Xbox One?
I wouldn't be playing it.
Yeah, I'm interested in Forza Horizon 3 solely because I can play it on PC.
Yep, that's
point.
huge. And actually Gran Turismo would be a game that I would purchase. Maybe not the day it came out, but the year it came out if it was on PC.
If I wanted to play a racing sim on console, I would probably wait for GT over playing Forza.
So I guess my question with Gran Turismo Sport, with Josh specifically, is maybe changed a little bit if it is a prologue. That feels like that really changes expectations pretty tremendously. Just in general with the franchise, though, Josh, what do you think? What do they need to do to make you happy? Like, they don't need to redefine the racing genre by any means, but like, what do you need from Gran Turismo?
I need for them to take all of the great things that's been in every single game from 3. I mean, even for the first game up to the 7, and they need to put them all into one. It seems like every time they release a new Gran Turismo game, they leave out sections from the previous game that were fantastic and great, and like they didn't even have to do anything to fix it or tweak it to make it work with the game. It would be perfect if they just included it as well too. So specifically going from like Gran Turismo 4 to Gran Turismo 5, like Gran Turismo 5 has a ton of vehicles, massive vehicle license library. Thousands, 1,000 cars. That's insane. But I think they, in favor of doing that, they took out all of the super fine tweaking of, everything in the game. Like you couldn't even adjust like the braking thresholds and stuff like that in Gran Turismo 5, which is all kind of small beans here and there, like for the average player, but somebody who's really into the franchise, it's a big deal when you take out that kind of customization. And then when they released Gran Turismo 6, that was supposed to be like, oh, okay, we're making amends, we're adding a bunch of it. If anything, Gran Turismo 6 was like a massive patch for Gran Turismo 5. They added in a bunch of vehicle customization. They also added in a bunch of new mechanics, like every time, like vehicle roll. So when you're cornering aggressively around, a tight corner, the entire vehicle suspension would roll, outside to where you were turning, and that was never a part of the games before. And all these things, but then obviously, I suppose, like the licenses for those vehicles must have lapsed, or they didn't want to put as much into it, so then they cut it down from the amount it had, like I think it was like 1,300, something like that, down to 600. And a lot of those vehicles are duplicates, but, there are a lot of good vehicles missing. So, honestly, like, in short, I suppose, when it comes to Gran Turismo 7, they just, like, if they keep up the vehicle customization, really strive to have all these vehicle like licenses in the game, and just not throw away stuff that they've already built. I think it'll be fantastic. I think it's probably worth mentioning that like when it comes to racing simulation games, nothing feels quite as good as Gran Turismo. Even like, Forza 5, Forza 6, Project Cars, all of these other racing sims, like they do an incredible job, but it just doesn't feel as well.
So you think that GT feels more like true to life, like more simulation than Forza, or just
it feels tighter,
or does it just feel at home? Like it's you've been playing GT for such a long time.
So I feel like I have more control with vehicles in Gran Turismo than I do in the other games, and that's mainly because I cannot handle trigger acceleration. All of the throttle in GT is controlled by your right analog stick, up and down, and that's also your braking as well too. So it's really, really easy. Unless, like, and obviously if you're racing with a steering wheel, like this all is out the window. But for me personally, like I'm not going to spend a couple $100 on a good set. Just the controller, how it's all set up, feels really, really good. And then, I suppose it probably does kind of come down to spending a lot of time with the Gran Turismo franchise. Just spending so much time there probably just got me, really used to that. But And that's not saying that the other games are like Forza or, Project Cars. You pick, simulation games aren't any good. So
it also feels like Gran Turismo is one of those forgotten when is it coming out franchises. Because last week we talked, okay, when is Last Guardian coming out? Final Fantasy 15 got delayed. But working in a game store again for years now, I have heard people say, hey, when is the new Gran Turismo coming out on PS4? And I just have to tell them, well, maybe. The guy who's making it, he's kind of a perfectionist, and so whenever he's done with it, and they're just like, okay, have they shown anything? Like video? No. Screenshots? Those are coming.
Yeah.
And so it's been in the oven for a while.
That's the biggest thing for me with GT to win me back, because I used to play GT2. I played GT2 on PlayStation 1 a ton. And then Forza came around and it totally, like I said, in my opinion, ate its lunch. But it's been out of the zeitgeist for so long. GT5 was, in development for years. I think that was supposed to be a PS3 launch game, and it came out midway through the cycle, if not at the end. And it didn't even turn out to be that good. GT5, in my opinion, was pretty poor. It's just, if you want to win me back, put out a damn game.
Yep. I remember a lot of people when GT5 came out said that they were still happy playing 4. They enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, 4 was great, and 5 just, I don't know, I'm guessing it was development on the PS3 architecture that really caught them up, but I don't know, 5 was a disappointment from the get-go for me.
It's kind of impressive that, and it's probably Sony backing so many things, Street Fighter 5 most recently, but it's kind of impressive that Polyphony Digital, right?
Yep.
Polyphony, thank you. That they are... still just trucking, because that's exactly right. They do release so few games. That's the thing. Forza can surprise us and sneak up on us because they have the dual studio trick, the Call of Duty thing, alternating with Horizon and then the numbered ones. But regardless, you can bank on a good 5-year minimum almost between Gran Turismo games these days. And yet they're still trucking. They still must be profitable. It's not like... as we saw Microsoft recently cutting off Lionhead and all sorts of stuff. They don't keep them around if they're not, so it's still got to be worth it in the end. We do have a ton of old coots who come into the store looking for Gran Turismo nonstop. Mm-hmm. That's a big deal game to a lot of people. Yep. I think with racing games in general, and I'm not so sure, like I said, I'm not the most well-versed in racing games, but something that just from customers and kind of ear to the ground with racing games that it seems like they all lack tremendously is customization. It seems like people really want that. There are two things that people want. It's a local multiplayer and car customization, and it doesn't seem like anybody delivers tremendously to the level that people want. People really want to get in there and be a mechanic. I'm not sure. I know I know that's getting better, tuning your car and stuff like that on Gran Turismo and Forza. But really swapping out parts and the visual changes and seeing things like that, it feels like they could go harder. All franchises could go a little harder on that.
That's I'm not even so much into car games, as you can tell by my silence for the past entire conversation. But if there was a game that had the in-depth customization of any sort of mechanism, like a car or something like that I could get from essentially the same thing that I got from playing Armored Core back in the day, where you're the interchangeable parts, and every single interchangeable part is customized in a different way, and it's just you break it down, and there's just millions of builds that you can have.
And see those numbers change.
And, yep, mm-hmm. I love playing spreadsheets. It's one of my favorite things.
Well, even from a visual perspective, are Forza or Gran Turismo, are either of them on the level of customization as say the Grand Theft Auto body shop?
No, it's pretty, in terms of GT, very minimal, very, very minimal, maybe a spoiler or some side skirts. Forza, it really kind of depends. I haven't really dumped the amount of time into Forza as I have GT.
Maybe Forza will have slightly more cosmetic options, but nothing that you're going to find in like a Need for Speed or anything like that.
Forza has
One
some
of the-
really cool cosmetic stuff with their paint jobs. Like you can go pretty hardcore
Yeah.
on the paint, and then you can upload them, and when you go into play, it'll be like, hey, these are the most popular paint jobs in the community. Do you want to download these? That stuff's cool.
That's good. That's what gets me on Grand Theft Auto Online so much. Is not. I mean, the gameplay is just so fun with friends, but I really get into my car garage on that game. Like, and you can do tricks like pearlescent paint with matte details and stuff like that, and it's you get really into it. And I've never actually found a racing game that gave me that same experience. So I think that's the goal.
I think it's a balancing act with the car manufacturers allowing them to do certain things with their likeness. I think that's
you're
a,
I was
totally
glad
right.
somebody else mentioned it.
I think that's a big part of it.
That's why you
That
can
makes
have
sense.
licensed cars in Burnout
Yep.
because they didn't want to see their cars getting wrecked.
Well, that was the big news with Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2 back in the day. It was because it showed actual on-car damage of licensed cars.
Yeah.
That's
you're right.
exactly right.
Yeah,
Forgot about
GT. They've had so much issue with damage models with their games. Like, I mean, everyone. Well, not everyone. Like everyone who's into GT saw like the E3 trailer for GT5 and showed like the doors like getting blown off the side of a rally car, and that never made it to game. And yeah, that was purely because car manufacturers like, nah, you can't do that.
So my question.
Oh, go
Tommy?
ahead, Cody.
Okay, thank you. So my question would have to be that: do you think a game? This is kind of open. Do you think a game that wouldn't be using licensed cars? So like a game with fully, like they'd have designed all the cars themselves, but there is that in-depth customization that you're looking for. Do you think a game like that would be successful, or do you think it really does need the car fanatics and car people, well, not even fanatics, just people who are into cars? Do you think they need the licensed cars to be in the game? Or
I
do
think
you
so.
think not?
That's a great question.
Some people might, but then I also have people come into the store buying Need for Speed Carbon on Xbox just because it has customization, and anything that they can play on their PlayStation 4 or Xbox One doesn't really have it. And the new Need for Speed, it didn't have that type of customization. And I'm always hearing them say, if they ever come out with a new Need for Speed Carbon, I'm buying it day one.
I feel like this is one of those questions where, like, shooting from your hip, you want to say, no way, obviously customization, but there tends to be an us versus them thing with those questions. And to me, it feels like us would love endless customization possibilities. Who cares if it says Ford or Chevy on the side of our car? But I feel like we might be vastly outnumbered by a them who wants their Chevy and wants their Ford.
I work with many people who play those games solely because of the manufacturer license, like the likeness. Totally.
Well, and
Back
then
in the PS2 era, they used to sell them based on the freaking licenses, Ford versus Chevy and all
Absolutely.
that crap.
And I can tell you from my perspective as well too, like if you break it into two separate groups, like arcade racing, yeah, absolutely. Like if it's an arcadey, just goof off kind of game, like a Need for Speed or Burnout, I couldn't care less if it was licensed vehicles. If I am playing a racing simulation game, they need to be true to life vehicles, and so I would only play it if it had licensed vehicles.
Yeah,
That's
I
just my
agree with
personal
you.
opinion. Yeah.
In the end, so then it's like, it's too bad these car manufacturers won't quit being assholes and allow us to slightly change their beautiful cars, but they're not gonna. So we're stuck in a rock and a hard place.
Yep.
That's what I'm
Game
wondering.
developers are the more frustrated of anyone.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's another one of those things. Like when you dig a little bit deeper, it's just bullshit. But it's bullshit we have to deal with.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm wondering if some of the delays in Gran Turismo are because they are just trying to work out a licensing deal.
I would watch a documentary on the licensing process of Gran Turismo 5. Josh says there's 1,000 cars. I would love to see how they went about doing that.
Yeah, and then like the other thing too was like, then they also said, oh, and we'll have, from the driver's seat views, and so you'll see dashboards. I'm like, holy crap, that's amazing. And then they said, but that's only going to be for the premium vehicles, not like premium paid vehicles, but like premium vehicles in-game.
The high-end stuff.
Because what they did is they took their entire car models from Gran Turismo 4 and ported that and upscaled it into Gran Turismo 5. And so all of those vehicles were just, you could only see the outside of the vehicle. Until later they patched it so that you could be in the driver's seat, but you would just be staring at a black, empty console. So overall, it seems like that whole thing was just a total nightmare for him. So, plus, Kazunori, it's Kazunori Yamauchi, I think that's his name. Yeah,
Yep.
he is. I mean, he's a perfectionist. So that's just kind of how it is. If it's not done the right way, he'll have it done over again. So, yeah.
So speaking of new body jobs, what do you guys think of that PS4 Slim?
Is it slim?
Yeah, right.
Is it slim? Was
Josh
that the
was
question?
telling me the size of it earlier.
it is slim in the definition of yes, it is tinier, but
No, well, how do you stand up a PlayStation 4? I know everyone has it lying down as they should. That's generally better for all consoles. But if you have it standing upright, it is slim. It's quite a bit skinnier. Not exactly like less wide from like looking down at your console, but like standing upright, it is skinnier.
Mhm.
yeah, I suppose like the difference between the the Xbox S and the PS4 Slim is, I mean, it's not as dramatic, and that's mainly because the PS4 Slim the PS4 is already a pretty slimmed down console.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Xbox One is reminiscent of the original Xbox. Big ugly box.
Mm-hmm.
I was hearing something about the controller being different, maybe. Oh yeah, with the strip. Oh no, I see it. Okay, that's the thing that I'm most excited about because the slimming down. It's already a pretty slim console. You don't exactly need that. I mean, it's kind of cool. I think it looks interesting.
I really like the look.
And then I've from what I understand, people have been griping about the light on the controller coming through. Am I wrong there? Do people
People are complaining about the controller a lot. But they patched in the ability to change the brightnesses of the controller, but they won't allow you to completely turn off the light on the back of the
the new Slim has that light on the front on the touchpad, so that you can see it coming through the front.
So Josh and I actually talked about this, and I feel like we're both in a similar boat that we actually like that light and are glad that you can see it now. And it's kind of silly that people would be frustrated about it because, like, the Xbox 360 was a very, very, very successful console. That fucking controller has a giant green light on the front of it, and it is not hesitant to tell you everything that is going on with the controller or the console through various,
spinning and flashing lights.
It's kind of silly. People are freaking out about this. Oh, this light bleeds through on the controller. It's just, it seems kind of handy.
And it's nice. A pretty slim profile as well, too. Like, it is not invasive at all. If
you're like, hey, just run a Sharpie over it. Like, problem solved.
On the PlayStation Slim, it has the matte finish, and then it also has the iconic PlayStation symbols on the bottom. It's kind of like the stoppers. I thought that was actually a pretty cool little touch. Like, they didn't have to put those on the bottom, but that was...
I think the body design looks good.
Added to it.
It's got real buttons. That's a big plus. I hate the buttons on the current PS4. I never know which one's on and which one's eject.
Yeah. So this rounded thing, this is the real one, right? Where it's like the edges are kind of rounded.
I mean, it's always been the real one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because, I'm seeing some that are, because I'm just Google image searching right now because I didn't really get a look at it. But
sure.
I definitely like the matte. I definitely like the buttons. I prefer physical buttons over touch just because animals are a thing that are just tiny demons. So are children, but we're not, it's just video games. It's the bane of consoles. Anyway, I think we can all agree on that. Regardless.
That animals are children or children are animals? Or
yes.
That they're all demons.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure I had a demon animal ruin a decent game for me earlier this year. Not to get too far away, but Tangled came out earlier this year, and overall, it was an okay game. It wasn't quite the Ori and the Blind Forest.
Oh yeah, I saw your Snapchats with your cat. Yeah.
Oh my god, I could not play the game because of the string. Like my little furry demon, as Cody was putting it, it was right there, camping in front of my TV. Could not play that game to save my life.
Big tangent, but sorry. The rounded edges look really nice. The sharp edges on the original PlayStation 4 look wonderful, but I think aesthetically, as far as it goes, this one it's nice, it's matte, it's easy to keep nice looking. Over time, it's not gonna look like you've been dropping it on the floor over and over again just because you've set things on top of the glossy part. Like, It just seems like a good idea.
And I mean, they got rid of that glossy part pretty quickly as well too. That was only really like the first round of the consoles, but
I didn't know they changed that actually.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Again,
so
I live under a rock.
So Gentle Gloves coming off. Gentle Gloves coming off. Sure, it looks cool, but is it worth it? Is the question. I think with all slim consoles right now, especially, I don't know. Have we ever had a time where we had a console manufacturer or anybody in general trying to sell us like this would be like Apple trying to sell you the iPhone 7, but then real quick a few months before it, they want you to quickly buy their newly announced iPhone 6s. Like, I think it's preposterous how close these slim consoles are to these PS 4.5 Neos or these Xbox 1.5s Scorpios. Like, this is insane, isn't it?
I think that for people like us, I think it's kind of I don't really care, personally. This isn't like an Xbox Elite where they're adding HDMI and a big hard drive, right? It's literally just a different body with the same guts.
Yeah.
Or even with the Xbox 360 Slim where they added wireless network functionality into the console.
Exactly.
And that's not totally true with the Xbox Slim, though. It is, I mean, in a very negligible sense, technically faster and performs better than the original Xbox One.
Yeah, aren't they advertising it as like 4K ready or something along those lines?
Well, yeah, so it'll play and stream 4K movies in video. It will not do games in 4K though.
Yeah, so Xbox does kind of have a couple selling points. Performance, obviously, whatever Digital Foundry found aside, they're not selling it based on that. They're selling it based on this plays 4K, this has HDMI or HDR rather for TV. But for like the Sony Slim thing, to me it just seems like, hey, if you don't already have a PS4, here's a new thing. I'm assuming or hoping that this is going to come with a price drop, and it's going to lower their manufacturing costs. It just kind of seems like something for them and for people who don't already have PS4s or are looking to buy one after their other one broke.
Does it come with a larger hard drive or anything like that?
I'm not sure. I don't know about the hard drives.
The ones that people have got their hands on so far are 500 gig hard drives. Okay. And look, with manufacturing costs, they did take out the digital optical port. And so that cheapens it a little bit.
That's actually a big point for me. That really sucks. I use that.
Yeah, so that's one thing that's gone for the Slim. And then, overall, since it's all matte, the matte material is a lot cheaper. And then I'm sure at this point, when it comes to the guts, they've found other avenues or, different business partners to cheapen it up. So I think they have to launch it at 300. To stay up with Microsoft.
So when is this dropping? When is this coming out?
I don't think we know yet.
Well, so Sony has a conference going on the 7th in New York.
See, that's the thing is we don't know officially yet, but obviously we're pretty sure the Slim's coming out probably within a month or two.
Yeah.
Probably by the holiday, I guess.
People are also speculating. We know that the Scorpio's not till next spring. People are really heavily speculating that the Neo is going to be this holiday.
I think you're crazy if you think that.
Yeah, isn't that? I find that insane too. But a ton of people think that the Neo is actually coming this holiday. Even if the Neo's not until next spring, that's my main issue here. I'm 100% behind Slims. I've never had a problem with Slims. My main issue is that they're trying to get people to buy this new Slim, especially people who aren't like us and really informed. And this Slim is going to be coming out about the same price as what you can currently get a PS4 and Xbox One for. They haven't really done a price drop. They do this $50 less for these 3 months, then we raise it back up nonsense they've been doing since the Xbox One and PS4 first came out. But it's not really a true price drop. And then, within 6 months, if we're being generous even, they're going to be coming out with these new, more powerful systems, and either they sell these new, more powerful systems at a higher price, which feels weird to me, or that they bring out these new, more powerful systems at close, maybe within $100 of the current prices, and these Slims should theoretically drop in price. So you're trying to get people to buy the Slim right now that will probably drop $50 to $100 within 6 months. Like the time, it's my issue isn't the concept of even more powerful systems or Slim machines. My issue is the time span here. It feels rushed. These Slim systems feel like they should have came out at the beginning of this year, and these Neo Scorpio systems shouldn't be coming out till holiday 2017. It's weird to me.
Yeah, I would say that definitely. It seems like. From my perspective, it seems like the Slim is going to be it's like the 2DS of PlayStation's releases. So they're like, okay, hey, we're gonna put out this console. It's cheaper to make. It's so we can sell it on sale for just in time for Christmas. So people that don't have PlayStations, they see this thing and it's like, oh, this is new.
Like grandma, too's looking for a PS4 for little Timmy, and sees the one that's $300 or whatever, whatever the price point is going to be, they might be more inclined to get that for him,
See, we'd like to use Nintendo as a comparison, but the 2DS was almost $100 cheaper than the 3DS,
True.
and the new 3DS with a better processor, when it came out at the same price as the 3DS, the XL at least. So when they came out with a more powerful system, they kept it at the same price of that which it was replacing, and when they came out with a slimmed down gutted version, they dropped the price significantly, and that's why we let them get away with that.
That's true.
It's totally cool, but they're not doing that this time. Microsoft and Sony are finding a way to really get people. I mean, I know like Xbox One fanboys who will probably buy a Slim and then 6 months later buy a Scorpio, and that just is sad to me.
The other thing too to think about when deciding to buy the PlayStation Neo or the Scorpio is that there's a hidden cost that most people don't or they gloss over, which is you get 4K playback. And even now with the Xbox One S, you have to think about this. If you don't own a 4K TV, you're not going to see stuff in 4K. So if you're only wanting to watch movies and play video games and you have a 1080p TV, there's no real benefit to get an Xbox One S if you already have an Xbox One. I guess if you're really hurting for space.
Scorpio or anything like that, for that matter, for the most part.
At least with the 3DS, when you bought the new 3DS XL, the cost that you paid for it, that was the only cost, minus whatever games you wanted to add onto it.
Chargers you had to buy for it.
Okay, that sucks.
Yeah.
Oh no, and I'm not even getting. No one on this podcast will give a damn about the plight of the video game specific retailer. But all these different consoles with all these different chargers and all these different thises and that's to explain the grandmas is insane. Please stop. Yeah. We had 7 different PlayStation 3s. Come on.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. You get the phone calls of, hey, I need a Slim, or I need a power cable for my Xbox 360. Okay, so which version of 360 you have? I don't know.
Yeah, when you plug it into your system, is it plastic or is it metal? Okay, next step.
Does the power button make a clicking sound when you press it?
Yeah.
Or does it turn on when you breathe on it?
Absurd. So you mean the Wii U isn't just that controller you buy for your Wii console?
Oh, God.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
And it's so tough because there's this never-ending battle, I feel like, especially right now, as like giant chains like Hastings are closing nationwide. It's this battle of physical retail versus digital retail. And it sure doesn't help physical retail when people are having to buy a different charger every time they got a new type of 3DS or I guess a different type of DS, I should say specifically, or different power supplies and this and that, or hard drive sizes that they can hardly comprehend. Like, no wonder people hate physical retail so much sometimes.
I'm just reminded of back in the day when I really needed an Xbox One, Xbox original power cable, and so I just shaved down the ends of my Dreamcast power cable, and boom.
Yeah, that's always the best. The circle, square, and the circle, mm-hmm.
Yep.
Dude, or just like, oh, hey, I'm going to bring over, or I'm going to bring over like a Super Nintendo. You got like a Super Nintendo or a Nintendo 64 or a GameCube that I can plug that video cable into?
Oh yeah, that was the great thing about Nintendo is their AV cable was the same for like Super Nintendo, 64, GameCube.
Yep.
3 generations. They finally changed it with the Wii.
Oh, the Wii was different. Okay.
Wasn't like the Sega Genesis? Wasn't its power just a basic like AC, like power adapter or DC? I mean,
I think so.
I'm pretty sure it was like I'm gonna bring over my Sega. Do you have a fucking like Dust Devil?
Yeah, right.
Can we use your dad's drill charger, please?
But yeah, anyways, I think we're gonna go ahead and take a quick break, stretch some legs, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, we will return here shortly.
Hey there everyone, Cameron with Supertrope here. Just wanted to let all you viewers at home know that we are doing two major things here. We of course have launched our YouTube site and are slowly putting videos up there. Please keep an eye on that, subscribe, like, do all that good fun stuff. Beyond that, we will be doing Playing It Forward, a 24-hour charity event in the Lewis-Clarkston Valley. So if you are local to the LC Valley and gameplay, then please definitely come down. Essentially going towards our local fine arts program, the Lewiston Civic Theater. It's going to be a great time, 24 hours of gaming, raising money for a good cause. So please do come down and join us September 10th down at Gameplay. And of course, thank you for listening.
And we're back. So, CD Projekt RED was a billion-dollar company now. That's crazy.
Yeah, insane.
That is crazy. When you think about CD Projekt RED, you really there's really only The Witcher. It's almost what you think of. But obviously, they also have GOG.com, a really great gaming service. I was really happy to see that they're worth this much. Obviously, that just means that's just numbers in the end, but it shows a sign of success and wealth. CD Projekt RED it would probably be one of my favorite game companies right now. Like, not all time, but like the past couple years, they're like my darling. Like the way that a lot of people treat From Software and Naughty Dog. That's probably CD Projekt RED for me right now.
Even just the little things like putting the thank you letter inside copies of Witcher 3. It seems cheesy, but it's nice.
It's a very nice touch.
No, that's a great point. I totally forgot about that. They you had stickers, letters, a full instruction booklet. Like most instruction booklets are a folded piece of paper. Like they care.
Or nothing.
Yeah, they're like, here's how you put the disc inside the console and play the tutorial.
Yeah, that's nice. It's a nice touch and a throwback to days gone by. It's sad that like you were saying, how this came. There's like nothing in them now, and you could at least put something that has some flavor in there. I don't know.
Piece of art
tell us about the characters.
Yeah.
I feel bad for all the kids that get games coming home from like Walmart or GameStop or whatever, and they open up their game all excited, and they look at it and it's like, oh, it's just a disc. But when I was a kid, I used to had to rip it open in the car.
Yeah,
and,
that's a
read
good
the manual.
Point. I forgot about that. That was the thing, wasn't it? To really just relish. Well, again, we're going to be going on a great tangent here, but how did you, me, and Josh discover our favorite Pokemon? I tell this story all the time. You may not remember this, but you were the one who started this nonsense, Mr. Kane, and you brought the instruction booklet with, for those of you who don't know, the Pokemon Red and Blue instruction booklet, the back half of it is pretty much a blank Pokédex, which they had intended for you to buy these little stickers or get these stickers, and you could fill out your Pokédex. What they did is they showed off some kind of iconic first evolutions scattered throughout. So, you had a Charmander there, of course, and then you had like an Oddish. Well, we on the playground, we would do this with almost anything video game related. Obviously showing our age here a little bit, talking about Pokemon coming out in the playground. But we would, we went through, and like I said, they only showed us like 20 Pokemon, all first evolutions, and we each individually picked one that would be ours. You know how kids are, you pick one that is yours. I, of course, chose Pikachu, which is fantastic, because he's just become freaking huge mascot, so the hipster to me doesn't like that so much, but hey, I like Pikachu. Josh chose Poliwag, which has grown into Poliwhirl, which he's pretty well known for, and you chose Eevee, I want to say, and that became kind of like that's the power of an instruction booklet right there.
Yep, that is still my favorite Pokemon, by the way.
Yeah.
And
also,
Pikachu probably still is mine when I'm not being a hipster.
Yep. Also, instruction booklets, the thing that was nice about them back in the day was that the tutorial was contained within the instruction booklet, so you didn't have to ham-fist it into the game, because the instruction booklet was there, and it was kind of in the idea that, well, if you don't know how to play a game, why haven't you read the instruction booklet? Like, look through it, learn about the characters, learn about the world, learn how the game works. You'll know how to play the game now. You don't have to spend that extra full half hour having the game tell you, you got to press B to jump, friend, and you got to go over there and talk to people sometimes. They got fun tips. It was on the instruction booklet. It was great.
Yeah, it was good. So when I first heard this news about CD Projekt RED, obviously, like I said, $1 billion feels like success, feels like wealth, but it is still just a number. So that didn't mean anything to me. Like, for all I know, almost any successful AAA game company is worth $1 billion in 2016. I don't know. So Josh, where does $1 billion kind of stand in like the great game studios or developers, I guess you could say?
Well, it's actually not too far off when it comes to like the top dogs of the industry. I guess at number 10, you have, well, I guess I should say that you kind of went through and picked out all of the different companies that, you know, their worth and like the amount of employees they have when they were established and all that. And like, yeah, CD Projekt Red is at $1 billion now.
So is this yearly revenue, or is this?
This is net worth, like their worth as the worth as a company, and most of the numbers were pretty up to date. I think most of them were 2016.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, but I mean, at like number 10 on the list is Square Enix, and they're $1.26 billion with 3,924 employees and established in 1975. For CD Projekt Red to hit the $1 billion in their 6 or 7 year studio lifetime with 300 some employees or something.
370
like
employees. Yep. As of now, that feels like that could be growing.
That is absolutely insane. That just kind of shows you how it's really cool to see how like this gaming studio just kind of out of nowhere just springs up and creates like this fantastic game series. Which was it also based off of a book originally?
Yeah, it was based off of folklore. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Books written by a Polish author. They're actually so proud of those books that they once gave those books to President Obama as a gift between countries.
Well, and they also gave him a copy of Witcher 2, the collector's edition for PC, as a gift.
Wonder if you ever
the one that works.
Wonder if you ever played that.
Yeah, I hope so.
Probably not.
But it might also say something about just how much influence a site like GOG can have on those numbers as well, because I didn't know GOG factored into any of the $1 billion at all.
Yeah, and I think that explains it pretty tremendously, honestly. I bet if you divvy this up on a pie chart, I feel like GOG would probably be a bigger part of that net worth than even The Witcher. I bet that just prints money, especially for them to be relatively so young and to be so close to Square Enix. Like, Square Enix has made a few AAA titles in their day. Like, as of late, it hasn't been too great, but we all know the history of Square Enix. And
they've also had to merge to survive.
Yes, exactly. It was Squaresoft and then Enix, and they're merged, and they're still only 0.26 billion above CD Projekt Red. Like, it's just cool to see kind of a slightly contemporary. You know, they technically were established mid-90s, but they're definitely a contemporary game developer, and compared to a lot of these grandfathers in the industry, and they're doing incredibly well.
Is Valve not on this list on purpose, or did they not make the list?
The list that I referenced actually didn't have Valve, and I found that strange. I'm not sure if it's because they aren't quite... Maybe this is game publishers specifically, something along those lines. I did actually get Valve towards the end, I want to say. Yeah, Valve and Steam are worth about $4.1 billion.
Okay.
Which would you have, like, if I like I said, I almost wish I wouldn't have shown these numbers. I wish I would have had you guys guess games, because I think, guess where they are ranked, because I think I wouldn't have guessed a lot of these things. I wouldn't have said that Steam is a mere 4 times bigger than GOG's company. Like, doesn't it feel like it should be closer to like 10, 20 times bigger?
Absolutely.
Like,
Steam is huge. At least it feels huge.
Like, it's really impressive. Or another one that was on this list that stood out to me big time was Sega, and the fact that they are technically, as far as these companies go, the 4th ranked behind only Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony. Like, I guess console making companies are still the top dogs entirely, because I mean it's a huge jump between them. Not actually that huge. The net worth between Nintendo and Sega Sammy's important there, is only about $2 billion. Sammy is a pachinko machine retailer, so I'm sure that's where Sega probably wouldn't be in the top 10 without them. That would be my guess.
Well, and I suppose maybe like it kind of makes sense that Sega, Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony are the top 4, even if Sega hasn't been around as a hardware manufacturer for 10 plus years. 15, 20, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's been a long time. But
Dreamcast in 2000, so a little over 10 years.
Yeah, like I guess it makes kind of sense that they would at least kind of bring up the 4th, because even still not doing hardware, they've been putting out a ton of software, and they license out all the Warhammer stuff. They've got a lot of different franchises under their belt.
Sega also got into the console market by being a company that provided other stuff like service games. So they were already an established company before they even came out with the Master System.
Yeah.
They have their fitness centers and all that over in Japan too. There's a lot of reasons for them being still worth so much, but I think it's important to see that it's not always as dark and bleak as a lot of kind of games media or the internet as a whole puts out. Like Konami, I mean, it feels like Konami's hardly in the game industry, but as far as their net worth goes, they're still in the top 10. It's interesting. Nintendo, obviously everyone thinks Nintendo's in the gutter, but they're still third. They're still doing very well. And it's not even about the rankings. It's that these companies are still stable. I think a lot of these game developers, especially when you look at Nintendo and even Sega, to me it just screams that they might be dumb in a lot of regards, but they're very smart fiscally. Like, I've constantly told people that yes, Nintendo's not doing great now, but Nintendo could pretty much do this for 3 decades, and they'd still be around because they have that much money in the bank. They have that much security. It's kind of impressive. But if you just read, an article about video games right now, it would make it look like these companies are a day away from dying.
Yep.
About the Wii U being the worst performing Nintendo console since Virtual Boy or something like that.
I would also say part of the reason of the the top 3, spoiler alert, the top 3 being all the people who put out the consoles is that they have that triple threat going where the reason why they're top 3 and Nintendo is top 3, I would say, my speculation, being that they put out they have their console, and then they're also a first party developer. It's not just a publisher, but they also have their first party titles that they put out, and that gains them money. And then on top of that, on top of allowing people to develop games for their console, they also push out third party titles that they publish. So, yeah, those 3 are the ones that's exactly what they have in common. And it totally makes sense why they would be at the top of the list, because they just have that absolute triple threat. Because Valve has Steam, and Valve has kind of published games that aren't first party, but Valve generally only makes first party. And also Valve has Steam, but Valve does not have... You don't go and buy, like... When you buy a computer, the money doesn't go to Valve.
Right, and it shows on this chart. Technically, Valve would squeak in right between... Konami and Electronic Arts, being behind Electronic Arts ahead of Konami, which I would have never guessed. I would have thought Valve was heads and tails above a lot of these other companies. Yep. So it's perception. It's really interesting when you actually see the numbers. This net worth isn't exactly strength of the company or their investors in the stock market and all those fun stuff, but it does represent strength. And I think the Microsoft Studios and Sony Computer Entertainment at the bottom, those ones a little bit you could almost disregard. Not bottom, I wrote this backwards. They're number 1 and number 2. You can almost disregard those in a sense because they, as you can kind of tell by like the Microsoft employees, 114,000, when most of the other people are less than 10,000. It's those companies as a whole, and clearly Microsoft and Sony have a ton of other things that they do. So with that said, it's still impressive to me that Nintendo's about half of the net worth of the non-video game giants that are Microsoft and Sony.
Absolutely. That is my point that I wanted to make about this list, is that the top 4 are Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sega, Sammy, which is obviously a pachinko, retailer. But the thing about it is that the most profitable, or at least by this list, game developer classically is Activision Blizzard. Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, Hearthstone, huge games. These games trump everything in the industry that makes so much money, right? Nintendo is still above them by several $billions. Nintendo games do not sell like Activision Blizzard games do. That is why Nintendo wants to continue to make hardware, because it makes money. A lot of people like to say, Nintendo, you just need to go third party and just make games. Well, look how much money they could potentially lose, because the new Mario game probably won't sell as much as World of Warcraft or Call of Duty.
True.
No, that's it. That's 100% true. And we focus on the Wii U and its slump, and I think everyone has forgotten about the triumph that is overall the 3DS. The 3DS has been an incredibly successful system.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought you were going to go back in the day when Nintendo launched the Nintendo 64 with 2 titles. But when one of them's Mario, it'll work just fine.
The fact that Sega is a more wealthy company than Activision Blizzard is very mind-blowing to me. That is crazy.
Yeah, isn't
that
it?
one I wasn't expecting.
Don't underestimate pachinko machines.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
No way, man. It's all that sweet Sonic 06 money.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Namco Bandai is also on this list. What do they really creating
Dark Souls,
besides obviously Dark Souls? But is that it? Is that their main? They
No,
help develop Smash
Tekken.
Brothers.
Yeah, they have a lot. They have stuff that surprises
Anime
you. Right?
games.
Even things like the Shonen Jump games and stuff of that
Pac-Man.
nature.
They're Dragon Ball Z and Naruto, right?
Yep, that's the Shonen Jump stuff.
Yeah.
Shonen Jump. So, main game.
So, yep.
But
Japan
Namco
still
Bandai being more
cares.
profitable than EA?
Right?
Crazy.
Dragon Ball games, they're arcane.
More
So
than Mario
Namco-
games.
See, what's funny is I bet if you jump over to Japan and said to somebody, Electronic Arts, they're probably worth more than Namco Bandai. They probably slap you in the face. Like it's our perspective, isn't it? It's so funny.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I wish I could have gotten Naughty Dog's net worth since they're a subsidiary of Sony Interactive Entertainment. We weren't able to get those numbers for some reason. I just view Naughty Dog as almost like a parallel with CD Projekt Red, just as far as like quality of games go. I'm not sure if that holds up as far as the budgets they get or the staff that they have, but sadly I couldn't get some of the more. These are kind of almost publishers more than developers. I was kind of hoping to maybe get a few more developers, but I guess that's also the strength of CD Projekt Red right there, is that they aren't a publisher unless you count GOG. Like, they pretty much make games and have GOG, and they're almost going to crack the top 10. Final Fantasy 15 doesn't do very well, but they might crack the top 10.
Well, didn't they self-publish some of the Witcher games?
I wouldn't be surprised. And I mean, they could self-publishing is one thing, but I mean like a publisher for other people.
Oh, okay.
But you were, before we jumped during the break, Tommy, you were mentioning something about their new game coming out.
Oh, Cyberpunk 2077. And this falls in line with that same Death Stranding, PlayStation Neo, Xbox Scorpio stuff where they announced it a long time ago. Like, they had a teaser trailer, I want to say, before they had playable footage of Witcher 3. And it was just a very short teaser trailer. The main reason why I've kept on it is just because I like the cyberpunk aesthetic so much.
Yep.
And there's only been a couple stories that have actually come out since then. One being that the actual size of the game, whatever that means as far as explorable size or feature set or in-game content, as in original score, voice-acted dialogue, that type of thing, they intend to be 3 times larger than Witcher 3. And then the other one I believe I read was that currently their staff size is larger than Witcher 3 at peak development. So they are putting their full weight behind this title right now, which is nice because the only thing they have coming up is Gwent. And I will play Gwent, but I really want to play Cyberpunk 2077.
Kane, I saw you shake your head when they said 3 times bigger than Witcher 3's world.
Yeah, Witcher 3 was too. I love that game, but I couldn't explore it all. It's too much. I couldn't do it.
I'm wondering if some of the size is going to be vertical this time.
The bonus to CD Projekt Red, making Cyberpunk 2077 larger, 3 times larger than The Witcher, would have to be because it takes place in a future where your transportation is going to be significantly better than back in using boats and horses in The Witcher, so you can cover more of that map a lot faster. I would imagine. So having that bigger map wouldn't necessarily mean that you wouldn't be able to go do everything. It just means that it's better fitting to how fast you can go in the future in terms of transportation. That's kind of where I was trying to get at.
That makes sense, honestly, when you put it that way, because obviously Roach is possibly the dumbest horse ever, but also...
I'm sorry, but Elder Scrolls horses take the cake.
Oh, okay.
I'm not
Plus they have the horse
surprised.
armor. To kind of wrap up the podcast, guys, I put together a little randomly generated, you could call it a Mad Libs or Cards Against Humanity that is very game industry focused. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to throw out 3 hypothetical titles, and you guys are going to tell me which one you would most want to play. Like I said, these are randomly generated. I have like a list of 30 or 35 here that we can eventually use throughout podcasts. We're only going to do 3. So here are your choices. A Pokemon reboot for all consoles brought to you by a group of monkeys using pre-programmed decision-making switches with the gameplay of Quake 3.
What? What's the
Quake 3? Quake 3 PC or Quake 3 Dreamcast?
Oh god,
There's a difference.
Oh, let's go with Dreamcast.
Fuck. Okay, so
Oh,
We're gonna go
definitely
Dreamcast.
not that
quick
one.
recap. So
one more time, that was a Pokemon reboot for all consoles brought to you by a group of monkeys using pre-programmed decision-making switches with the gameplay of Quake 3 from Dreamcast. Option number 2, an Earthbound Chrono Trigger crossover made by BioWare with the gameplay of a classic Kirby game.
yeah. Just
And our third option will be a AAA budget Battletoads game made by Valve, but with the style of a Rock Band 3 rhythm game.
Can you repeat the last one?
Yeah. I feel like the last one
I'll recap them real quick.
reached into the grab bag of tropes and was like, here you go, here's a game.
These are all just the grab bag of tropes. All right, so all three of them, real quick. Pokemon Reboot, group of monkeys with pre-programmed switches, gameplay of Quake 3 and Dreamcast. Earthbound Chrono Trigger crossover, made by BioWare, with the gameplay of a classic Kirby game. Or Battletoads, with a AAA budget, made by Valve, but with a Rock Band style rhythm game component. Which sound the best? You must pick one.
Oh, Lord.
I gotta go with Battletoads. I love beat 'em ups. I love Valve and Rock Band's.
But you see, the thing is that like it's Battletoads. I'm assuming it's going to use just the aesthetic. It's basically just going to be all the Battletoads soundtrack, just to Rock Band tunes with silly hats.
No, you've got it backwards. It's going to be the Battletoads racing segment, only you got to play it with a plastic guitar.
Oh, so like the racing down like the fret highway? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. Like the notes are something that you... So would you have to hit the notes, or would you have to dodge the notes in this time?
You gotta
Because you want to
punch
hear
the
the
notes.
music.
But think of a randomly generated Quake 3 styled game. Like Quake 3 graphics, but you're shooting Pokemon,
Yeah,
like Pokemon Snap. Yet this entire game has been designed by monkeys using pre-programmed
So I don't know what that
switches.
means. I'm going to be honest with you. But it sounds like a bad thing.
I love the idea of monkeys typing on typewriters. Yeah. Obviously, that wouldn't work for game design. So essentially, the idea here is that there are scripts that have been written, like when the player gets to a door, this will happen, switches more or less, and the monkeys are the decision makers on the switches and where they are. So the game lacks logical reason, but it's still
But it's a reboot, so it would completely...
It's a Pokemon reboot with Quake 3 gameplay, Kane. Come on.
I can't.
Like I'm gonna vote for the Pokemon reboot on the Dreamcast simply because of all three. I think the Battletoads rhythm game and the
one that we are not talking about much is the Earthbound Chrono Trigger crossover, which is bad enough already.
Like I can actually see those two coming out, but nobody's gonna make a Pokemon game with Quake 3 engine, so this might be my only chance to play it.
I'm just saying, if we replace BioWare with someone else, that could be Kane's dream game, right?
No,
Chrono Trigger and Kirby.
No, why? No,
that's how video games work.
Play as Ness, and you gotta suck up cheeseburgers in time.
Mr. Saturn is pretty much Kirby, so the game pretty much makes itself.
By monkeys.
Just Mr. Saturn and Frog racing around, just trying to eat shit faster than each other.
So I'm gonna vote for the Pokemon reboot by decision-making monkeys.
I would like to see that one the most, just because I need to know what the hell it is. And
that one seems the most adventurous to me.
So as far as the Pokemon on Dreamcast thing, let's not forget, everyone, that Quake 3 Arena on the Dreamcast was a PC game. Well, let's hold back hot takes here. And let's remember that this was a Dreamcast game. Well, okay, it was a PC game on the Dreamcast, and the Dreamcast controller had one analog stick.
Yeah.
So you would move with the face buttons and aim with the left analog stick. Which would be perfect for Pokemon. You know, this is starting to make sense.
Yeah.
And well, so I think the thing though is that we're just slapping Pokemon Snap onto it. I think it's just a Pokemon rebooted game with the gameplay mechanics of Quake. So you're going to be shooting the fuck out of these Pokemon. And just quick arena combat.
Yeah,
that's what it is. We just give Pokemon just like guns and shit.
You keep saying it, and it keeps
or to be Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. You know, it treated like a roguelike.
Super effective.
I mean,
There's a Master Ball spot
like,
that everyone.
If we're talking specifically Quake 3 on the Dreamcast type gameplay, I'm just curious what the VMU minigame is going to be.
Oh, it's Hey You Pikachu.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Hey, you Pikachu, and you're just throwing.
So I can play it on the run, though. Oh.
But the VMU is also programmed by the monkeys.
So it might not be that.
The monkeys are key.
The monkeys just throw a wrench into it, like a monkey.
Yeah.
Like, you totally, you're throwing rocks.
It's random.
I like monkeys.
I mean, the Pokemon game is definitely the most interesting one.
Yep, I'd throw in for that.
Seems like the one we're going with. Alright, Pokemon Reboot for all consoles, brought to you by a group of decision-making monkeys, with the gameplay of Quake 3 specifically on Dreamcast. Thanks, everybody, for listening to Supertrope. I had a good time tonight, guys. I hope all you guys did, too.
Thanks for listening.